We're pretty nerdy when it comes to our own junk folders, and we've probably got a few thoughts in terms of what puts your emails there. I think one of them is broken authentication, and this gets really geeky, but authentication is basically publishing some records that explain where your emails come from in terms of IP address they're sending from, what domains are allowed to use them, and if that authentication breaks, your emails won't get delivered. And one of the reasons that it can break in your world is because they go through a mimecast or a proof point and basically get relayed on from mimecast to proof point, but now from a new IP address, which is not your original IP address. Now, there's stuff that you can publish called an ARC record, and that basically preserves your original status. Probably 2/3 of all the B2B emails that I see in my junk folder have failed to publish that record. Their authentication breaks and they go to junk. Targeting and segmentation is frequently not to the same standard that we would see with B2C senders. Again, I draw my own experience. I live outside of the US. I register with a lot of programs here in the US. They automatically assume I'm here, and they send me great offers to sort of events and functions, and it's like, nah, I'm not going to be able to attend those. And as for cold outreach, you want to tell the audience our story about that Miami event we were supposed to go to?
Yes, so Guy and I were supposed to speak at an event in Miami 2 years ago. I think for whatever reason, we weren't able to go. We just didn't go to the event. And my favorite, and I was sad because I really wanted to go to Miami, but there was a great silver lining that came out of this, which were the flurry of emails that we got to our corporate address that said, "Hi, we loved your presentation at the Miami conference. It was excellent. Here's this offer, reach out." And then even on LinkedIn, what a great presentation from you guys. It was hilarious. We were just taking screenshots of them and sending them back and forth to each other, being like, who is this?
I replied to one of them, like, cool, which bit of it did you like the best?
What did you like the most?
Never heard from them again.
So, cold outreach is difficult.
That's right, yeah. And that leads into my final point on this slide. I think, up until now, we've been talking more about your bulk email marketing, but there's another aspect to it, which is kind of the marketing, which is your SDRs sending out their prospecting emails, often from your corporate domain, and just be aware of the potential damage that they can create with their several hundred emails a day, generating loads of deleted, unread, and complaint notifications at the other end. And certainly, if you are operating on a Microsoft-hosted platform yourself, Microsoft's monitoring that as well. They're monitoring the reputation of the IP addresses that those prospecting emails are going through. If that reputation drops, make no mistake, they are on the case, they are investigating what emails caused it to drop. And then they're taking action, and that action can range from, they operate different classes of IP addresses. Some are higher quality than others. So if they deem you to be a less desirable sender, they relegate you onto a lower quality pool of IP addresses. They can even, if they deem that you're sending content that is spammy, they can temporarily disable your account. Exactly the same if they deem that you're sending too many emails too frequently. So be very, very aware of that. We're not just talking the sort of high volume email marketing promoting your products and services. I think... I
have a cautionary tale as well, just that I want to issue here. So I just started working with a financial wellness B2B sender. Perfectly legitimate. They, unfortunately for them in the email ecosystem, obtain their email addresses through third parties, through employers, through payroll companies. It's all perfectly legitimate, but because there is not a lot of consent and because of the way that they were sending, they got into hot water. Before coming to us, one of the solutions that they were investigating and one that they actually ran by us was, and I'm not going to name names, Guy, I'll leave that to you a little bit later in the presentation, but they basically said, we're looking at this company who tells us we don't have to worry about our reputation, we don't have to worry about our deliverability anymore. They're going to send our emails through this third party at a really, really small rate. So they're going to rotate accounts. They're going to set up new Outlook accounts, new Gmail accounts for us and just send a really small amount of volume. This is so bad. Don't do that. It's called snowshoe spamming, basically. And it can get your brand into, your actual brand name into really hot water, even if you're not using your links. So anyway, don't do that.
Absolutely.
Trying to save you before that happens.
We thought we'd share a couple of examples, and you might look at the one on the left and go, God, that's a bit mean, you know, sort of holding up our own hosts. But it's a great example, you know, because I signed up with them when we knew we were coming to this event, and that welcome email went straight to my junk folder, partly because their authentication was broken, and partly because those SCL and BCL scores that Daniela was talking about through the roof, meaning that their emails are seen as highly spammy and they're generating loads of spam complaints. And you know, this is where the sort of creative and the content really comes into play as well, because yes, there was a bit of blurb about we look forward to welcoming you. But even before I've stayed with them for the first time, there's also content in this email going, hey, are you dreaming about that next fabulous vacation you're going on? It's like, let me come and stay with you for the first time and then we'll talk about it. So, and you know, every single email I've received from them subsequently, exactly the same thing. And you know, they need to, they would benefit from having greater visibility of those metrics, because then they would be able to fix them. Different example from Four Seasons. I stayed at the hotel in Austin a couple of months ago, and this was just like a really nice follow-up email where it was, if you're coming back to Austin anytime in the near future, here's a few more things you might like to do in the area, a little interactive quiz to find out what kind of holiday destinations I like to go to so they can personalize. And you know, they do a great job of promoting their preference center as well, so I can tell them how much, how often, what types of messaging. So two very different examples of what good looks like.